Hi everyone, and welcome to a next episode in our Saving Christmas creation video. So in this series we're going through the process of how I made or making the Christmas game that I released as a surprise release over the Christmas period in 2019. So far in this series we've covered pretty much everything to do with the gameplay. What we're doing in this episode is taking a look at the level blueprint to code in the level specific events that are going to happen in this world. And so the whole point of the game is that Santa here has to collect 3 presents. There are 3 going to be in the world. So here's the first one. The second one is going to be collected, be available when all these candy canes are collected. We haven't yet done that one. And the next one, the third one, is going to happen when all these goblins in this area are knocked out. Once they're knocked out, the present will spawn and allow the player to pick it up. So what we're going to do here is first of all go into our goblins. And we're going to give our goblin a variable. And we'll go is knocked out. And we're going to drag that at the end of its prevent any damage and set it to true. So when it's knocked out, that variable set to is knocked out. Then I'm going to go into my level blueprint. So go into the top here, you've got blueprints and open level blueprint. And level blueprints where you do exactly stuff like this. So it's specific stuff based on the level, and it's usually events and triggers, things of that nature. So in there, I need to first of all get all the goblins that I want affected by this event. So I'm going to click on this one, and I'm just going to make this a bit bigger so I can actually see both at the same time. So I click on this one here, right click, create a reference. And I'm going to do it for each of the other 4. Reference. And that one. That one. Cool. So now we've got all 5 of these goblins referenced in the level blueprint. Just going to clear these 2 to get them out of the way. Let's just organise this a little bit so it doesn't look so crazy. And that one there. So with these 5, we're going to use a make array, and we're going to plug in each one into this make array. So after that, we're going to promote that array to a variable, and we're going to call it goblin array. And this will go into begin play. So at the start of the game, it's going to set up this array here. On this array, what we're going to do is make it so that when the goblin is knocked out, we are going to listen out for each of the goblins being knocked out. Okay, so we're going to use event dispatchers for this. So I'm going to compile, go into my goblin, and I'm going to create an event dispatcher down here. Click on there, and I'm going to call it knocked out. Actually, let's call it goblin knocked out. Goblin knocked out. And at the end of this set event, we're going to drag goblin knocked out and choose call. So when it's knocked out, essentially it's shouting out that it's been knocked out to everything that wants to listen to it. So that's being called there. On the level blueprint, we need to tell it to listen out for that call. So for each of these, we need to tell it to listen. So on the array, we're going to do a for each. So it loops through each of the items here, the 5 goblins. And on the array element here, we're going to bind event to goblin knocked out. Okay, so when a goblin is knocked out, this thing is going to trigger what this other event is attached to this. So I'm going to create a custom event, and the custom event here is going to be, let's call it check combat arena status, and we'll go down here. So the check combat arena status is going to then go through each of those goblins and check if any of them are left still not knocked out. So let's get our goblin array out and choose get and put this through a for each loop. So on the array element, we're going to drag that out and get the is knocked out variable. And if is knocked out is going to a branch and is false, we want to break out of this loop. Okay. Oh no, is do I have false? Actually, let's put this into a function. I'm going to get rid of this and put this into a function. New function. Call it check arena status. The reason why I'm putting a function is that I can make it do different returns and so forth. I can change the way it handles the data. So the goblin array works similar to what we just did for each loop. And like so. And we're going to do a local variable. And we're going to go goblins knocked. We'll go all goblins knocked out. All goblins knocked out. And this local variable, we're going to set it to true to start off with. On the array element for the for each loop, then we get the is knocked out variable. And if this is true, if this is false, we're going to change the local variable to false. Okay, because you want to make sure that is knocked out is you want them all knocked out. So for example, if we go through goblin 1 and it is knocked out, then this will go through true and not do this. So this one local variable will remain true, and it'll go for the next one and next one and next one. And let's say it gets to goblin 3 and goblin 3 is not knocked out, it's still alive. Okay, so this will now go through false and set the local variable to false. Okay, so then on completed here, we want to then do a branch with this got all goblins knocked out as the condition. If all goblins are knocked out, we want to return that a return node here with that true. In fact, we don't even need a branch, we can get rid of that and just have the return node output a boolean for all cleared. There you go. And we'll plug that in to there. So when it's completed, it will now output this local variable. Now, if every one of them is knocked out, this is never set, and therefore this will output true. If they are still walking about, this will output false. So I hit compile and go back to my event graph. Now the error we're getting is because this bind event is not bound to anything. So to bind it, we're going to go out there and go create event. And you should be able to choose your function from the drop down, sorry. Or not. Should be able to. I think the issue we have is because we've got an output happening on our function, it won't let us attach it to the binding. So, workaround for that is we do a custom event and we'll call this one check arena. And that's going to call that function. So that function is now going to output whether or not it's all cleared. And if it is all cleared, we're going to tell it to spawn in our present. So the present, what we're going to do is we're going to drop our present below the level. So the easiest way I'm doing this is I'm going to get the present, drag it in here, and I'm going to move it way down here. Like so. Now the reason why you might want to do this is that now I can reference it in the level blueprint and it's not part of the game. Also, it makes it load quicker essentially because the object's still in the world and therefore it doesn't have to load it up from memory or anything like that. It's there. So if I've got that beneath the world, I can tell it to raise that particular one to a particular location. So I'm going to go into my level blueprint with it selected and right click, create reference to present. And if all cleared is true, so we put this into a branch. I'm going to set the location of the present to the location of the last goblin that we just killed. Okay. So actually, let's just get it spawning. No, let's get to where the last goblin was knocked out roughly. So, I think what we'll have to do is, I think we have to put on a goblin's event dispatcher here. So I'm going to click on input on this, and we'll put in goblin, and that'll be a goblin type actor reference. Compile that, and after when we call it, we just need to put in self as the default value. Then back on here, this will get an error. Oh no, it won't get an error, it'll just pop up here. So with that goblin here, we can then get the AI controller. Cast to goblin AI. Because the goblin AI has the origin on it, we can use the get origin, and on present 2 we can set location to that origin. Hit compile. Let's see if this works. Let's get over to that part of the level. Knock that one out. Okay, so let's knock them all out. So, problem with playing on keyboard and mouse, the aiming is dreadful. So it's 3, 4, 5, and there he spawns. Yeah, and he should move around, hopefully. Let's just see why he's not moving around. Yeah, controller, walking. I think we need to tell it to add the behavior tree to it. So when we move it into the world, we're going to open level blueprint. And on this present 2 here, we're going to tell get AI controller. And we're going to tell the AI controller to run behavior tree. Not goblin BT. No, but let me go to my present code. It doesn't have AI, does it? No. I'll just have to tell it to move. That's fine. So, not run behavior tree. It doesn't have one. We just tell it to move. So let's test that out again, and it should now walk about the little place as it spawns into the world. No, there you go, it spawns into the world and will run around doing its thing. Okay, so that's a basic thing there going into the world, but it kind of just pops in. What if you want to make it do something special in its spawning? So what we could do here is we can make a special spawn function. So we go add a custom event and do spawn as its function, as its event name, sorry. And in here, I'm going to add a timeline. Spawn timeline. Now, the reason why I'm doing the timeline is because I'm going to make it do basically a simple animation to spawn into the world. I'm going to make it spin and grow. So I'm going to click on there and add a new float. and this is going to be the spin float, and it's going to go from 0, 0, and with another shift click I'm going to add another point in, and over a time of 1 second I'm going to change its value to 3. In fact, let's make it half a second, 0.5. Change the length here to 0.5, and there's the whole thing. So that's the spin float. I'm then going to make another float, and this is going to be its scale float. So the scale float is going to go from 0, 0, and then shift click again, and again over 0.5 seconds it's going to go from 0 to 1. Compile. So we'll close that. So spawn time, I've got a spin float and a scale float. So if I drag out my mesh component for this, I can set rotation, relative rotation of the mesh, and I'm going to split that. So I'm going to change it yaw. So spin float, I'm going to multiply that by 360. So it does full rotations. And that's just spinning quite fast. So over half a second, it's going to spin 4 times. It's going to go whipping around. Next, I'm going to do this relative scale. Set relative scale 3D. Split this again by right clicking. Get your scale float, multiply that. Actually, I don't need to multiply it by anything because it's really going from 0 to 1. So scale float, we're going to go into each of those. Like so. Compile. So I've got this spawn function happening. So what I'm going to do after that spawn function's happened, we're going to actually call that finished there to tell it to move. So it won't start moving until it's finished its little animation. Then back on my level blueprint, rather than call the move function, we're going to call the spawn function instead. So spawn, and plug that in. So let's see how that looks. Half a second may be too quick. It may also be too slow. We'll have to have a look. Oh, crap. Let's just put Santa over here. Makes it a bit quicker. Okay. So, knock these out. I'll do that one last so we can actually see the present spawn in. Come here. And knock this one out. There you go. Yeah, it looks alright. Quite happy with that. So now I've got a present walking around in the world that I will be able to collect later on. And that's it for this episode. That's got the second present spawning in. We're now going to do the last present, which is going to be basically the same thing, but this time when we collect all of the candy canes. So once all 50 have been collected, the third and final present will spawn into the world. So join us next time in the next episode for how to do that. Thank you for watching. If you want to watch that next part right now, you can head to patreon.com/RyanAiley, where you can watch that video plus many others. Thank you to all of my patrons for their support over the last year. I wouldn't be doing this without all you guys supporting me, so thank you so much. Keep an eye out for what's coming in 2020. Lots of cool stuff on the books, and I can't wait to get through it all with you. So thanks again, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.